Welcome to Hispanic Biz Success Stories. I'm Homero Galicia. We interview successful Hispanic business owners who built wonderful business, learn from them their stories, how they built a business, why they built a business, the challenge they faced and have overcome, in the hopes that you find these stories interesting and that you learn from them, our culture. We're very fortunate today to have with us Mr. Gus Rodriguez, Sr., owner of Basil Glass. Mr. Rodriguez, thank you so much for being with us today.
You're welcome. I really enjoy coming and talking to you. When you tell me, it's going to be interesting.
Oh, well, your story is fascinating. Basil Glass, what is that?
But Basil Glass is more of a commercial type of glass business. We do automatic doors and we do storefronts and any kind of commercial work. But we dropped the residential and the auto glass. We just saw it was too much, so we just dedicated ourselves to just that end.
How many years have you been in business now?
Been in business 46 years.
46 years,
Yes,
wow.
Yes.
And you started the business?
I started it, and then I told my wife, I said, well, I think you need to work with me. So I dragged her in, and she says, I don't know anything about the business. I'll teach you.
That's great.
So that's how we started.
So it's you and your wife run the business?
Yes, right now she's the president.
Okay, good.
But we both run it, yes.
What is your wife's name?
My wife's name is Elma. In English, it's pronounced Elma, and people think it's A-L-M-A, but it's E-L-M-A.
Elma.
Elma.
Delighted. So tell me about, your background. What neighborhoods did you grow up in? You grew up here in El Paso.
I was born and raised in El Paso, and I went to Bell School, and the area that I lived in was more or less Alameda and Piedras. Of course, we ventured from around there, but not more than half a mile. It was all through there.
And your father, what did your father do?
My father started out as a painter, and then he changed over to being a glassman when he was working at Fort Bliss, and that's how I became a glassman. He told me, you need to learn it, and I said, I don't like it. He said, you learn it? And I said, yes, sir. That's what I did.
Do you learn the trade then from your father?
Yes, I learned it, but then as time went, just like anything else, the younger generation starts learning more. And so before I knew it, I knew more than he did. But he's the one that taught me everything.
So you were young. So what high school did you go to?
I went to Austin High School. From Bell School, we moved across the tracks and landed in the Austin High School area, and that's how I wound up going to Austin.
And after high school, you went to work?
No, after high school, I was debating what I was going to do, and I was too young to join the service. So my mom told me, says, "Why don't you go to UTEP for a while?" So I did, and I graduated from there.
You did?
Yes.
In what field?
In business.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
I didn't know what to do. She says, take business, so I did.
You had an interest in business.
It's been an interesting business, and we've not only done the glass business, we've done other businesses. So the degree did help me.
So, going to college at that time, not a lot of your friends, your peers went to school.
No, in fact, there was very few Hispanics going to college. And we started seeing more of them because after the war with the GI Bill, a lot of them started going there.
Right.
But prior to that, go to college, oh my goodness, it was unheard of. So
yeah. So did you marry after college, before college?
No, excuse me, I went through college, and then I got on 56, and in 58, we decided to hitch up, and it's been 56 years.
Fantastic.
Being married.
Congratulations. How many children do you have?
We have 3, Gus Jr. and Monica Vanessa and Elma Dolores.
Okay.
We have 3.
So Elma's like your wife.
Yeah, we had no originality. It was 2 Gus's and 2 Elmas.
That's cute. No, and Gus is very involved with the Chamber of Commerce. I know him from there.
Oh, yes, he is.
I know one of your daughters is involved in the business I know one is. Is the other also involved?
The middle one, the oldest, she's got her own businesses. She owns about 3 businesses. And the youngest is the general manager for our hotel.
Okay.
We own a hotel, and she's a general manager.
Wow. So we'll get into talking about the business and as it grows. But so tell me about your mother and your father. Your father, did he start a business after all?
My father was let's say he was a rough type of person, not too well brushed. And my mother was working at this glass company also, and they were both working there. And my father was kind of not too happy. And my mother told him, says, why don't we just go into business? He says, I don't know anything about business. She says, well, I know enough about it that we can do it. So they got out, both of them left their employment, and I was just kind of coming into being in the glass business. And so my dad told me, he says, well, you'll be my first employee.
Ah.
I said, oh, God, Dad, I don't want to be in the glass business. He says, learn it, son. You might need it. So I did.
And what is it about glass that is so a craft? What is the craft of the glass business?
Well, learning how to cut the glass is really fascinating. And once you learn that, you can do a lot of things. But the glass business takes in commercial doors, automatic aluminum doors, and it's like a carpenter job. You build a wall and you put the doors in and you put the windows in, and so it's that's the craft of it.
So what did you learn from your father?
What I learned from my father is never be afraid of work.
He was a worker.
He was a workaholic. I said, Dad, don't you ever get tired? He said, no, I love to work. I said, oh my God. So he taught me the basics. And I can tell you, as time went, I kept learning more and more. And before I knew it, I knew more than he did. But he taught me the basics. Number one is don't ever lay your glass cutter down. You have a glass cutter, don't ever leave it there, because then you won't be able to go back to work on it. And so he says, don't ever lay your glass cutter down.
Okay. So you always had it with you.
I had it for years and years, except for the last 4 or 5 years. I still go and says, where's my glass cutter?
I'll be. And your mother, what did you learn from your mother?
I learned how to be real punctual, number one. She was never late for anything, and very meticulous as far as the paperwork and figuring the jobs, and even in the kitchen, she taught me how to work in the kitchen. And she would weigh the stuff and put it in little containers and say, okay, I'm gonna put this in the freezer. This is for Monday. This is for Tuesday. And to this day, we still, in my family, my wife learned that too. So
Very organized.
she is very organized. My mother was very organized.
Wow. And where did your mother work?
My mother worked in, she worked in a restaurant, Ashley's restaurant.
Really?
Yes, Ashley's, in 5 Points.
Pershing.
On Pershing, yes. Uh-huh.
Mr.
And
George.
then from there, she went to work in the glass company, because the employer needed somebody to work in the office, and my dad said, I can get you my wife. So he got her in there, and they were both working there. And then one summer, he needed more helpers, and so my dad says, come on, son. So there I go, all 3 of us.
You worked for the same company.
The same company, yes.
You have brothers and sisters?
No, I'm an only child.
Okay.
I'm an only child. I did have a sister for 6 months, but she was born with a birth defect, and she only lasted 6 months.
Okay.
But I consider it an only child because
Yeah.
it's just too short.
Well, and we were talking a little earlier about, because I know then you moved to, you were telling me you lived on North Loop.
Yes, sir.
And I kind of remember that, and I asked about that because apparently your father bought my uncle's house.
Yes, I was real surprised to hear you say a White House on North Loop, and I got to thinking. Then you said Carlos Maese. I said, oh my God, I know him real well.
Yeah.
Yes,
So,
he was a very good man.
yeah, and you knew his wife.
His wife, yes.
That's nice. Well, in a sense, El Paso's a kind of a small
I
town.
tell people El Paso is a big, small city. You can go to the mall, and if you've lived here long enough, you're going to run into John and Joe and Julio and Carlos or whatever.
Well, you're still working. I mean, you're working right now. You came in from being on the job site.
I came from the job site, yes, sir. I'm still working.
That's been your life.
It's been my life. Like I tell you, my dad told me, he says, don't never be afraid of work. And so my boys need help, my men, they need help. And I call them boys because they're so young. They need help, and then I'll go over there and help them. I don't help them all day, but they know they can count on me.
And your wife, what role does she play? She's very involved with your business.
My wife did not go to college, but she is a business whiz. She picked it up, and she has diversified our businesses from her end of it. She knows how to wheel and deal. And what are we doing now, honey? Well, we're going to do this and this. I said, that's fine.
Is she the negotiator?
She's a negotiator, yes.
What is your strength in the business?
My strength is really running the business and teaching her, and I taught the kids. See, I got a business degree, so I taught them how to do business, and then my wife has taught them how to wheel and deal and how to work with other people's money. See, a lot of people, they say, well, I don't have any money. Well, we didn't have any money for a lot of the businesses, but she managed to find it. She says, always work for somebody else's money.
So when you start your business, how did you start your business?
I started my business when I came back from Vietnam. I was called up as one of the first reservists to be deployed. And when I was over there, I kept thinking, do I go back to work for my good boss? He was a real good employer. I loved him to death. And I said, or what shall I do? So I kept thinking, and when I actually got back, I said, going into business for myself. And I called him up. I said, I'm sorry, I'm not going back to work for you. He says, why? What's the matter? What happened? I said, well, I decided to go on my own. That's fine. He says, do that. I'll send you some business.
Really? Who is that first boss?
That gentleman was Remus Thomas.
Really?
And Thomas Manor they owned all that property, that acreage of cotton land. And that's why it's called Thomas Manor. But it was Remus Thomas.
What did they do?
Well, he had several businesses, but his main business was a glass business.
And so you were doing glass for him?
Yes. And he also told me, don't ever lay your glass cutter down.
Really?
My dad told me that. He told me that. And I've told my kids, I said, you may not use the glass cutter anymore, but don't lay it down.
That's your definition.
That's the definition. Yes, sir. Uh-huh.
So how long did you serve in Vietnam? Or
I only served 8 months. We were, like I tell you, we were activated. I was in the reserves. They called us in. And then when we were over there, our President Johnson was getting a lot of flack from anti-war movements and all that. So we were supposed to do a whole year. And 8 months into the tour, he says, bring him back.
what did you learn in the military?
I learned not to be afraid of anything. My dad told me, don't ever be afraid of anything. And so I learned, if you're afraid, you're never going to get anywhere. And if you're afraid of dying, the bullet's going to find you. That's the main thing we learned over there is, don't be afraid of it, because the bullet's going to find you no matter what. So, and I learned to take a chance in Vietnam and don't be afraid. That's the main thing that I learned. Don't be afraid. Like my dad had already told me that, but that was reinforced over there.
So you went in before college or after college?
It was after college. I graduated from college, and then I went to work here and went to work there, and then I went back to my old boss from way back, and then they called me in, so I left. And when I came back, I said, why not?
So you come and you start a business after your military experience.
Right.
and you had your degree in business, so
Right.
you had some confidence about that.
Right. Uh-huh.
You had your craft, which was glass,
Right.
and you saw an opportunity in that field.
I saw an opportunity, and I said, there's other glass companies, but there's always room for another one.
You weren't afraid of that.
No, I wasn't. Like I said, I'd have this in my mind and never be afraid.
So what was driving you at that time? Do you remember?
Money. I had 2 kids before I left, and the third one was born when I was over there. I come back and I don't have a job, and I need to pay bills, and I need to work. So I said, well, let's get with it. Rolled up my sleeves and went to work, and I grossed $200 the first month. Gross, not profit, gross. And that was should have disappointed me, but I said, I think it'll get better. And sure enough, it's about the third month, things started picking up, and the picture was more rosy.
So where did you start finding work?
Well, I went to contractors that I already knew from working with my old boss, and I said, "Do you have any work?" And I don't want to take his work away from me. Do you have anything small? Oh, sure, Gus. Yeah. In fact, go see this other guy. He's just getting started, and I know you can get some work from it. And I appreciate the fact that you don't want to take his work away.
Okay.
And I said, well, so they would refer me, and I would do a good job, and people would say, I'll call you again. I said, okay, that's it. Ah, yeah, sure. But sure enough, I had a little old lady that would call me once a year, once time per year. She did that for about 15 years.
Really?
And this is Mrs. So-and-so. I said, yes, ma'am. I've got a broken glass.
That's neat.
And so that's what brought my business. And now it's different. They have programs where you just sign up and they'll send you work. And if you want to bid it, you bid it. If you don't want to bid it, you don't have to do it. It's a different ballgame now.
So when you started, you had to go out and find the work.
Yes, I had to go knock on doors. Hello, my name's Gus Rodriguez. I just started Basil Glass, and I know I can do a good job for you. Give them the sales pitch. And they said, well, I'll take a chance. And they liked my work.
So as you started, you're saying took 3 months before you started seeing some daylight.
Right.
In terms, what were your first challenges?
My first challenges was really to get my truck ready for being in the glass business, because now you can buy, I call them store-bought glass racks. You can just put them on the truck. But in those days, there was no such thing. So I asked my brother-in-law, he was a jack of all trades. I said, brother-in-law, you know how to weld? He says, yeah. You think you could weld me a rack? He says, yeah, tell me how you want it and I'll do it. So that was my first challenge, because I had to tell him how to put a little cut here, weld this here, and then I would look at it, let's move it a little bit this way. And finally got it to where I wanted it. And there I went, like a kid with a new car.
So you had to manufacture what you needed.
Yes, there was, here again, like I tell you, in those days, you didn't have too many tools. So you had to improvise. You had to make your own.
Wow.
And now you want this, you just order it and it's there.
Well, and some of your in-laws were in business too, right?
Yes, my brother-in-law, Joe Rosales, he's got a concrete business, and he's been real successful. And then my younger brother-in-law, I taught him the glass business, and he went into the glass business. And some nephews, I taught him how to work also. And one of them was working for Baker Glass, and the other one was doing work on his own. And so I look back, I said, wow, a lot of people out of my glass business. But it was enjoyable to teach him, because I don't mind teaching.
You got to like the glass business then.
Like I tell you, I hated it at first, but I like it. I love it. Glass business has been very good to me. I can't
So,
complain.
so were you able to get supplies when you needed the supplies? Where would you go?
That was a challenge. To get supplies, they didn't want to sell me any glass.
Really?
The main company here was Pittsburgh Plate Glass,
Yeah, I remember
National Glass Company.
PP&G, yeah.
Yeah, and they didn't want to sell me glass. And they would say, well, we can't sell you any glass because you don't have an account. Well, I'll open an account. Well, you don't have any credit. Well, at least give me $100 credit so I can establish it. How am I going to get credit if you don't give me an application or something? So finally talked them into it. And they said, well, we're going to give you $100 credit. I said, fine.
How long did that take you? A while?
Well, it took me a while to convince them that I wanted the opportunity.
Why would they not sell you glass?
Because I was small and I was Hispanic. That was the main reason. They didn't want Hispanic owners, and they want to kind of keep you down. But
so how did you face that challenge? You just kept going.
I just kept going, and I told them, I said, I speak English. Yeah, we know that. I said, well, then what's your problem? I said, do you think I'm not going to pay you, or well, what is your problem? So I talked to him, and I didn't get upset. I just kind of did a little PR work with them and pat them on the back and shake their hand and okay. Come on, Joe, good. Let me have some $100 credit. Well, okay, Gus. I was being diplomatic about it, but the reason that I couldn't get anything was because I was Hispanic.
Okay.
And number two, because they used that as an excuse. No credit, no business background, I said, come on. So they finally did.
So you didn't let that deter you. You kept going.
I didn't get discouraged. I just kept on going. I said, well, I hit this wall here, and I just go this way. Yeah. And if I hit another wall there, I'll go this way, or I'll come back. And my dad always said, no, never close the doors when you pass. Pass the door, don't ever close it, because you might want to come back. And if you close it, you can't go back. So that was the challenge. But
so as you grow your business now, you run into financial issues, right?
Yes, oh yes.
How'd you deal with those?
I went to the VA because they said if you're a veteran, you can borrow money on your veteran benefits and all that. Well, that's a little too much money that you want to borrow. We don't make a loan that big. Well, it's a little too small an amount. We don't lend that small amount. And here again, what it was is that I was Hispanic.
I'll be.
The VA didn't take into consideration that I risked my life in Vietnam. They were just looking at black and white, Hispanic and non-Hispanic.
Really?
And
in those days,
But it didn't discourage me because that's the way life is. You know, life is not straight and everything's peaches and cream. It's just you run into a problem, you get sick, you break your arm or whatever. If you go sit and cry,
So how'd you raise capital when you needed it?
Well, here again, I said I need to borrow some money. Well, you don't have any credit in the bank. I said, well, going back to PPG, I said, how about lending me some money and I'll show you who I am? Yeah. And so I said, oh, okay. So I would pay the bills before so they could see that I was legit and I wasn't going to run and all that. And my wife, by then she started coming into the business and voice her. And she's a real go-getter. She doesn't take no for any answer. Your no means yes to her. And so she just get on the phone and oh my gosh, she's a little tiger. In fact, she went to El Paso High. El Paso High Tigers. Okay. I tell her, you're my little tiger, honey. And she knows how to talk. And in fact, she's even better than I am. I can get things done, but she tells me, honey, I'll take care of it. And she started talking, and she became the business manager. She took care of the money, and here's when I tell you that she started there would be $500, $1,000 just sitting there in the business, and she said, I can use that $1,000. And she pulled something, and look, honey, I made $2,000 on it. Wow.
Wow, that's nice.
So she is a real go-getter.
So you would borrow some money and pay it ahead of time,
Right.
to prove that you were, and that built your credit line.
Oh yes, that builds your credit line. A lot of times I would borrow the money, and I didn't need it. I would borrow it so that I could establish. I borrowed, say, $3,000. I didn't need it. I didn't need the $3,000. But this way, I would pay it in payments and maybe pay it 2-3 months ahead. I was just paying their money back, but paying the interest. And
So the banking relationship grew?
oh yes, it started to grow. In fact, so much that I'm going to jump way ahead. In the 1987 stock market took me down, and I needed some money. I didn't have any money. I lost everything. And I went to in fact, I saw him yesterday, my banker, and I said, I need $30,000. Oh, for what, Gus? I said, I'm not going to lie to you. Got to pay my stock market debts. And he said, okay. Since you've been good, I'll go ahead and lend you the $30,000.
Wow.
And he did, and I said, oh, God, thank you. I saw him yesterday, and I told him, I said, I'll never forget you.
Yeah.
Oh, Gus, don't worry about it. I'll never forget you.
That's neat.
You were my savior.
Wow.
And a real nice guy. So that's how I did it. Didn't need the money. I would borrow it and pay ahead of time, and just show people that you mean business, and you're going to do what you say.
Well, that's establishing integrity.
It's establishing integrity, establishing your honesty, and you do that with employees, with customers, even customers that you see them and you say, "Oh my God," but you still real nice. Hi, how you doing? And thanks for the business. Always thank them for the business. The guy called me up and said, I'm excited to give you the business. Thank you very much, sir. I appreciate that. Appreciate it. And I guess they found that kind of unusual. But my mother always told me, she says, we may be poor, son, but you got to have manners. Got to have manners. Yes, sir, no, sir, all the time.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
Very proper.
Oh, yes.
Always proper.
Yeah. She said, we may be poor, because in those days we actually didn't have anything. We didn't even have running water in our apartment where we lived, and no light. We had that's the court. So we were considered poor. And she would tell me, she says, Mijo, we may be poor, but you should always have manners.
Wow.
Yes, ma'am.
Always have integrity. We've been talking with Mr. Rodriguez about his company, Basil Glass. How old is Basil Glass now?
It's about 46 years old.
And how big is Basil Glass now?
Well, it went up real high, and then as I got a little older, I decided to cut it down a little bit. We only have 2 permanent employees outside. And as I get to work, I call the labor force. I tell them, I said, I need some people. They send them out. We get through with the job, and I let them go. Well, they're not my employees. I'm leasing them. So I can pick up maybe 15 employees. But at one time, I had 15 permanent and 5 part-time.
Wow. Sweet.
And like I tell you, as I got a little older, I said, it's a lot of work. Especially, I didn't want to let employees down and say, I'm sorry, I can't use you anymore. But when the labor people came in that you could rent the employees, it made it easier for me, because I didn't have to worry, well, I wonder how he's going to eat tomorrow. Wonder what he's going to do. It worried me. And so now I just call and they send me employees, and that's
So
it.
you're the primary worker in your business.
I am the primary worker. I am the worker. I do everything from sweeping the warehouse to figuring a job. $200,000 job. I figure it. Of course, it's much easier now to figure work than it was in the old days. I used to do it by hand, and then customer would say, "Can you delete this part here and add this other?" I said, "Oh my God, I was doing it by hand." By hand means just.
Yeah.
And I said, "There's got to be an easier way." So I started searching, and sure enough, estimate your jobs with this program. I said, "Wow." So I went to the trade show specifically to look for an estimating program. Nothing else. I didn't care about the glass and about the tools and nothing. And I picked the one I like, and I've been with them for 18 years now.
The software?
Software, yes. And it's beautiful because you input, press the button, and here it comes. You want to change? Oh, yeah, sure. Let me delete this. Let me add this. You know how technology is nowadays. So.
But you got, as your business grew, you took on more commercial work?
Yes, like I tell you, we started out doing everything anything I could had a dollar mark on it, I did it. And as I saw there was not that much in this type of work, so I cut it out. And we went strictly commercial now.
So you do windows, doors?
Yes, we do. Right now, the thing going right now is what they call blast-resistant windows and glass. And the government, any government job has to have that. And so that we do that, and then the buildings now have more glass rather than brick and plaster because it's heavier, and the glass and aluminum are lighter. So that brings in more work for us.
So you get how long did it take you to feel that you had established your glass business?
It didn't take me too long. It was maybe 8 years. I knew it was established because I could see the money coming in.
Okay. And
that's a good indicator.
And your wife was helping you?
And my wife was helping me, and then Gus Jr. and my oldest daughter, they were coming in to help me. And my oldest daughter loved the glass business.
Really?
Oh, she loved it. And we would get what we call night calls. People want their glass fixed at 2 o'clock in the morning, not at 10 o'clock in the morning. They broke it, I need it now. So I'd get up and say, "Where are you going, Dad?" I said, "I got a night call. I'll go with you."
Really?
I said, I taught all my 3 kids to always do the things you have to do. And I took the one from my dad, don't ever be afraid to work. And so my daughters, they loved it. You know, not everybody is geared for, Gus Jr. didn't like it. He learned it, but he didn't like it. And now he's doing something else.
Well, of course, he's come into your business and he's done other things.
Oh, yes, he comes. See, one thing about us is that we have all the businesses. In my wife and I, we own the warehouse offices. And so all the businesses are there. And I need help, my son comes over and helps me out, or my daughter comes over. We share employees, we share everything. So
they have their own businesses? Yes,
my daughter's got 3 businesses, the oldest, Vanessa. And Gus Jr., I think he's got 2, I'm not too sure. I think he just started the second one. And then the youngest daughter, well, she's the general manager for our hotel.
So how did all of that happen and all of that grow?
Oh, well, it's interesting. Like I tell you, my wife is a wheeler dealer, and she would do this and do that. And in 1987, I told you, the stock market pulled me down. I went down. In 1990, 3 years later, we're in Europe for a 26-day vacation.
Really? In 3 years?
3 years.
How did that happen?
My wife.
Really?
Oh, yeah. She started wheeling and dealing, and she loaned money. I said, "Lend money?" She says, "Yeah, lend him $10,000. I said, "From where, honey?" we're going broke with the stock market. What do you mean you loaned $10,000? She says, don't worry about it. No, I have to worry. Well, we had a friend, and she borrowed the money from him, and then she loaned it to this guy. So she was the middle person. She made some money from knowing this person, and she became the broker for a lot of things.
But then you started getting into government contracting. How did that happen?
Yes, we got into government contracting when the government said that we're going to establish an 8A program. 8A program. That's to help minorities. And I was in the Hispanic Chamber then, and I heard about it. I said, maybe there's something to this. So I started looking around, and sure enough, we had about 100 pages of forms to fill out. I said, oh my God, I'm not going to do that. And Gus Jr. says, I'll do it, Dan. I'll fill them out for you. So he did. And we started getting work from the government under the 8A program.
Okay.
And that's how we started doing more and more. And with the government, I was doing just about anything that they wanted. Yeah, can you lay the floor here? Or can you build a wall here? Yeah, I can do it. Hey, Carpenter, Mr. Carpenter, come and put a wall here. Mr. Towel Man, come and do this. So I was being the broker then.
Okay.
So
you got into the SBA set-aside program.
Right, set-aside.
And that's an 8-year program or 9-year program?
It's a 9-year. I think it's a 9-year program.
And you were able to get good contracts in it for it.
I did a lot of contracts. In fact, after I graduated, they still continued to use my art company as a main source to fix the glass.
Well, is that where some of the other companies then began to develop?
Yeah, they started coming in because I was starting to do more commercial, and what I was doing at Fort Bliss was just broken glass, just replacing the glass. So,
okay.
So I told them, I says, why don't you give somebody else a chance? So they've been farming it out, and I still do a little bit, but not much.
So what are these other businesses that brought to your company?
Well, every time my children want to open a business, they want to go back to some source that is stable, and there's some money there that we can go back to. And Dad, we need your financial statement. I said, for what? I want to open a business. I said, oh, okay, fine. So my daughter did she rented bus drivers. It was one of her first jobs. And then she went into technology, and she's doing construction now. And these are all still ongoing businesses. Oh, and then just recently she opened an ice cream business. She's got 2 trucks, and she sells paletas.
Really?
Paletas, ice cream on a stick.
Really?
And I said, honey, it's kind of way out of your league, isn't it? She says, there's money in it.
Yeah.
I'm going to do it.
Wow.
So that's how she and Gus Jr. doing the same thing.
So what's the name of those businesses?
Her main name is Beacon Services. And Gus calls his Future Forces.
Future Forces.
And the hotel is Candlewood Suites.
So you have a hotel?
We own a 95-room hotel, 4 stories, that our daughter built. She's a contractor.
Really?
Yes.
So, and this is in the Northeast?
This is in Northeast across Coyne Stadium.
So how'd you get into that business?
That's a funny story. I went to play golf with a lady, and my son said, Major so-and-so's mother's coming to El Paso, and she wants to play golf. I said, well, that's good. I hope she enjoys it. No, Dad, you're going to play golf with her. I said, not me. I don't play golf with women. She says, come on, Dad, don't be that way. I said, okay, so I invited my daughter and her friend. I said, I'm not going to play golf with her by myself. She was a real nice lady, real smart. Got to talking. You know, they say that in golf you do a lot of business. So what do you do? She says, well, I own a hotel in Prague. A what? A hotel in Prague, and one in Las Vegas, and one here and there. I said, well, that's interesting. How is that business? She says, real good. You ought to get into it. And I said, oh, yeah, sure. Us getting into the hotel business? Well, if you look and don't give up, you will succeed. We didn't have money. We needed $1 million just to start. And so my wife, the wheel-in dealer, she found the money. It's a long story, so I won't go into that one. She found the money. She said, okay, we've got the money, now what?
Wow.
And my daughter says, I'll start looking around for a franchisee. And she did. Before you knew it, we were pouring concrete on the slab and going up with it. We didn't know anything about the hotel business. I said, now what? So we found out the franchises help you a lot. Mm-hmm. They teach you everything. And Gus Jr. always uses our craziness as a motivation for other people. He'll do some motivation talk, and he'll say, our family has done things when we didn't even have a penny. My mom and dad went broke, and still they continued. They found a way to do it. So, right. And and I give my dad credit for a lot of that, because he's never be afraid of anything.
So how did you learn to grow your business?
Well, you got to talk to the right people. Like I tell you, I'm in the glass business, but I like to do, really enjoying being here, because I like to tell my story. And when you go to a function, yeah, you know this guy here, but go talk to the other guy. Even if you don't know him. Hi, how you doing? I'm Gus Rodriguez. What do you do? Well, I'm a banker. Oh, now I got to talk to you. Oh, what do you do? Well, I'm a colonel in the Army. I said, oh, okay. So I learned something about the Army. I was in the Navy, but I learned something about the Army. And that's how you got to meet other people. Don't be afraid to, oh, well, I don't know anything about the banking business, so I'm not going to talk.
Well, you became significant government contractors.
Yes.
And you still do some?
We still do some, yes. In fact, my son told me the other day, says I got another opportunity for you and I.
Oh.
See, I went to Vietnam, and they classified me as 30% disabled.
Really?
And I think they're going to give me another 10 or 20. I'm not too sure, but if they do, it's fine. And with that, he started looking. He says, there's programs for disabled veterans.
Yeah, it's a very strong program.
Yes, so he told me, he says, let me see what I can find. He did get my brother-in-law, you know him, Jaime, in one of those veteran programs.
Oh, good.
So he says, now it's your turn, Dad. I'm going to get you in. So always looking. My wife reads magazines, and she worked on houses, and she and my daughter went into flipping houses. They flipped 13 houses in 1 year.
Really?
Didn't know anything about flipping houses, didn't know anything about how to get into it, nothing, but they just started, and they went into it.
And they did well?
They did very well.
How did they learn to do well? I mean, you know, if you get into something like that and you don't know anything about it, how do you make it happen?
Well, in school they teach you how to do research. You got to go to the library and do some research on some stupid book, and you say, "Nah, why do I have to do that for?" It comes in handy, because you learn how to do things that you think are not. They're immaterial.
So they do their homework. They do their due diligence.
You have to go to the library and do research on, say, cockroaches. Who cares about cockroaches? But you have to do it because the teacher says you got to do it. So you go to the library and you start learning how to do research. So my wife, like I tell you, she reads magazines and she reads this and that. And we also don't waste our time on movies and series like
The soaps.
soap operas. Yeah, who wants to see that stuff? I see KCOS.
Okay.
I really enjoy it. It's interesting. And I call that the learning channels.
Yeah.
There's a program, How It's Made.
Yes.
That's real interesting.
Yeah.
You learn about history. I'm a history buff. I love history. But there's things that you say, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Oh, so there were already pipes in the island of Cyprus.
Yeah.
And here we are, we thought we invented the sewer lines. And,
Are you a reader?
oh yes, I love to read.
And
Now,
why?
I don't read novels.
Yeah.
I'll read anything that's gonna, going back to my dad, read anything that's gonna instruct your mind and instruye la mente.
Let me ask you,
Yes.
because you're always growing,
Always.
and you're a senior now,
I'm a very senior.
but you're still working,
Yes.
and you're still growing.
Yes.
You're still asking.
Yes. I'm gonna be 80 next month.
Really?
Not next month, next week. On the
Really?
24th.
Congratulations.
Thank you. And people say, don't you want to retire? For what? Life is beautiful.
And you still get up on ladders?
I still get up on ladders. I still learn. I've been working on a computer for 18 years.
Really?
And I learn new programs. And I told you I bought that estimating program. I bought it. They gave me I said, what is this? That's your disk, sir. And what do I do with it? Well, you insert it in your computer. Oh. I said, now what? So I said, okay, it comes with instructions. Yeah. So I did.
So you've learned. You've not been afraid.
No. A lot of people are afraid to, what if I delete something? You won't delete.
So what is your legacy?
My legacy is never die. Keep on going. As long as God wants you to be on this earth, keep on going. When God says, Gus, that's it, then I go happy. Because I've done everything that I wanted to do, and I did it like Frank Sinatra says, I did it my way.
But you had a family helping you.
Yes, you have to teach the family to work with you. Oh, I can't get my son to do anything around the house. What's the problem there? Got to teach them. And the kids they want to learn. You think they don't, they do. I told my son one day, he says, Dad, my bike's been flat for a week and I can't use it. I said, and? Well, I can't use it. I said, well, let me show you. Flipped it over, took the tire off, and put the glue in there, lit a match, okay, put it on there and said, that's how you do it, son.
The old way of patching a tire.
Yeah, I said, just do it. And, yeah, but what if I don't put it back right? I said, well, if you don't, I'll come in and help you.
Okay.
So I never did.
So you've been a mentor.
I've been a mentor, yes.
And
I love to teach people. I love for them to learn.
So now you've got, you're still working your business, and your children have their businesses, and you're part of their businesses.
Yes.
And so you have government contracting,
Yes.
you have this hotel,
Yes.
and you're still growing.
I'll grow like I tell you, Homero, I'll grow till I die. That my dad told me one day, he says, when do you feel you're going to retire? I said, retire? For what? He says, well, everybody's got a date that they want to retire. I said, no, Dad, I love to work. Just like you, I love to work. And one of these days, the ambulance is going to come by and people are going to say, what happened to the old man? Oh, he got a heart attack and he died. And then they'll take me to the funeral. I said, that's the way I want to go.
You're going to work.
I'm going to work.
So what advice do you give young people that want to get into business?
Well, first of all, like I said, never be afraid. Because if you're afraid that you're not going to make it, you're not going to make it. If you go in with the attitude that I'm going to make it and give it all you can, you're going to make it.
So what drives you?
What drives me? Gosh, I guess my dad. He was a mentor and a half. I hated the fact that every day he would give me advice. When somebody teaches you something, pay attention.
So your father was always...
My father was always on top of me. He says, don't, if somebody wants to teach you, pay attention because not everybody's going to teach you. And don't just sit there and play with the marbles or play with little toys. Go over there and see what the man is doing. He'd take me to the job sites. And of course, I'm a kid. I go over there and I build little sand houses. And what are you doing, son? I'm doing this, Dad. No. Come over here. Watch this man, how he's doing it. And I started learning, oh, okay. And that got me going. And like I'm sitting here and I'm also looking at your cameras. I said, this is interesting. How you doing, hey? And
so the inquisitiveness never stops.
No, what do they say? Curiosity never. What kills a can? Well, I am a very curious person. How does it work? Why does it work? Can I improve it? I've improved tools.
So how do you satisfy that curiosity?
There's never an end to my appetite. This lady told me, she says, why are you working so hard? I don't know. You're not going to take it with you. I said, no, you're right, I'm not. By the same token, I'll never spend it either. I'll never spend it. I said, so what, here's your question, what makes me do this? I guess I get an adrenaline charge. It just gives me a high. Just like people join the Army and they can just be regular soldiers, but no, they're rangers or they're whatever exciting person can be a policeman. That's exciting for them. So they get this charge, this adrenaline charge, and that's what motivates me.
So when you get up in the morning and all these years when you get up, you get up. What do you say?
We're all charged up, ready to go.
What do you say to yourself?
I don't say to myself, another day, let's go.
You're ready.
I'm ready to go, yeah. And then at 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, last night it was 8 o'clock when I finished. I sit on the truck. You tired, honey? A little bit. I'm talking to my wife. How about you? Yeah, a little bit. What shall we do? Let's go eat and then we'll go. You know the pictures over there in the wall, I'm going to move them. So we'll work till 10 o'clock at night. It's just...
So you're a worker.
I'm a workaholic.
But you build a business.
I built a business. More business. More than one.
You build a lot of businesses.
Yes. And what am I going to do with all the money? I don't have grandkids. We don't have grandkids. And fortunately, God gives people grandkids, and people don't have kids. We happen not to have grandkids. Well, what are you going to do with all your money? Why are you working so hard? I'll work till the day I die, and then I won't will it to the church or will it to some charitable organization or whoever needs some money, here's $1,000 for you. Or maybe my employees, here, take this truck, I will that to you. I can't take it with me, but I really love to work. And it's a charge.
Well, in all your businesses, how many employees do you have?
Not too many of them, because we're usually all key employees. And I have 2 outside and 3 inside. Gus, I don't know how many he's got, but I think he's got about 5. My daughter, while it was 3 businesses, she might have about 8. We use a lot of temporary workers. The hotel is the one that has the most. They got about 18.
Okay.
Yeah, but
so you're taking care of a lot of families.
We take a lot of care of a lot of families. We help a lot of families. We help the church. We donate here and there. We don't donate like $1 million, but somebody needs 500, 1,000. Sometimes they can't afford to. They need a helping hand to come out of where they are. Give him a hand, and here's some money for you to. I'll pay you back if that's okay.
Well, you certainly built a nice business, and you've been at it for a long time.
Yes, sir.
And you're still going.
Still going, yes, sir.
So, you know, your story is a strong message about dedication and hard work and focus.
Focus, yes.
You know, and partnership. But your family, your business is a family business.
Mm-hmm.
Your wife, your children are all involved, and they now have their businesses. It's a wonderful story and a legacy that you leave, that you've built. And you're still growing, and still working.
Growing. Yes, sir. Still growing.
And so it's quite a delight, Mr. Rodriguez, to get your story, and I certainly appreciate it. I know more about Basil Glass now, and I trust that our viewers know more about Basil Glass and about Mr. Gus Rodriguez Sr.
I hope I haven't bored them.
Oh, no, not quite. But we certainly appreciate you sharing your story,
Thank you.
And we thank the viewers for watching. We trust that you've enjoyed this discussion with Mr. Gus Rodriguez Sr., and that you've learned more about El Paso history and El Paso culture. Thank you for watching, and keep tuned for Hispanic Biz success stories. Thank you, and have a good day. Bye.